It's been a while since I've presented you all with a delightful hat, so I went out of my way to find this beaut. Okay. Yep. Name's Abrian. Brown spittin'. Stick my willy in her crack. I licked a nut sack. You're sat around the family gathering, Christmas, Thanksgiving, whatever the hell you do, Hanukkah, and there's just a perfect amount of silence to make things the right amount of awkward. Your conversations are dead end. How's school going? You got a girlfriend, champ? Of course you don't have a girlfriend. Why is Uncle Gary even ask? You give these one answer responses. Shallow, kind of pre-programmed. And unlike your usual Sigma male persona, you can't think of anything else. In fact, you can't really think of anything at all. At least this would be me. I'd be like, damn, this is awkward, right, guys? And I'd be off like a couple seconds later, daydreaming about playing Rust or yanking my little worm. I was shallow. I was boring. And it wasn't until I tapped into this sense of charisma that I started enjoying social interactions, where social interactions started being actually fun. And there really isn't some deep, complex method into becoming less shallow and less dry and less boring. It's pretty simple, like most things. The reason you're so shallow and boring is because you have no thoughts of your own. You're fed whatever TikTok is feeding you and whatever video game you're playing. That's what takes up your mind. These are the distractions that fill up your head. Of course, you're not going to have some deep thoughts, conversation-worthy thoughts. You're thinking about baby Gronk being the new drip king, or you're thinking about unlocking the next level on Genshin Impact. When you fill up your life with meaningless distractions, you're going to have meaningless thoughts, consequence of action. And instead of edging you, unless you like that, I'll tell you how to become more deep and mysterious. Or in simpler terms, how to have thoughts of your own so you're not so goddamn shallow. Creativity. This is like Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, the creativity episode. The best thoughts, the best conversations, they all come from creativity. And how does creativity come to be? How does it come into existence? How do we be creative? Boredom. The writer Neil Gaiman, maybe you heard of him, maybe you haven't, had a practice that he did for creativity. He would go get a hotel by himself with just his laptop for writing purposes. He would make an agreement in his head, be bored or be creative. If he wasn't writing on his laptop, he would stare at the wall with literally no distractions. The TV's not on, not even a book in front of him, just staring at the wall, doing nothing. And he would stare at the wall until he thought of something to write, something creative. He would spend as long as he needed in that hotel, days most of the time, to guarantee that not only would he focus on his work and get it done, but he would spur the most creative ideas. And you may have heard of one of his pieces, Coraline, one of the weirdest and most creative pieces of media out there. Point is, boredom spawns creativity. They're yin and yang, and you don't have to go out and rent a hotel room to make yourself bored. You can make yourself bored anytime you want. Get rid of all your distractions, whether it be the TV, whether it be your phone, whether it be people even, and just sit and do nothing. Stare at a literal wall. This corner of my room right here. When I want to think, I either go outside or I stare at this corner right here. Maybe you have a journal in front of you to write down any ideas that strike you, but you're bored. And when you're bored, your mind tries to entertain yourself. And through this self-entertainment, that's when you have your own thoughts, your own deep thoughts, your own creative thoughts. Thoughts that actually have some merit. Thoughts that aren't just like a shallow, yes or no question, you know what I mean? And making yourself bored and staring at the wall and doing nothing, this is often talked about in self-improvement as the method in which to find your purpose. And I think it's really glazed over that it's also the method in which to be the most creative. if you're someone who wants to be creative, right? Like me, whenever I want to think of video ideas, I sit and do nothing because that's when video ideas come to me. That's when I am actually thinking with no distractions. So staring at a wall will make you less shallow and boring. Sounds kind of backwards, right? Like sitting and doing nothing makes you less boring. Yeah. And obviously there's other means in which you'll be less boring. Obviously having hobbies, right? Like being able to go up to Uncle Gary and being like, yeah, I've been sparring at the gym. Or, yeah, I picked up a new instrument. Like Uncle Gary's going to be like, oh shit, that's cool, my buddy boy. And having purpose helps. Having a purpose in life, right? Like if I'm at some family gathering, I pull out YouTube Studios. Yeah, I've got 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Like that conversation is going to go on for a bit, right? Like, oh, what kind of videos do you make? Like it's something to talk about, something that makes you you, something that makes you less boring. Like your purpose, you know, you started some business, it's like cock sucking business, and you're like, yeah, I've been sucking cock recently. I think that's got to be like top 5 stupidest bits I've done on this channel. Doing something personal, something that means something to you, not just scrolling on TikTok, not just playing some game. You're bound to be less boring. You're bound to be less shallow. The more meaning you find in life, of course, you're going to be less boring and shallow. And inherently, right? Because this video is not even about social skills. I haven't given you a single tip on how to be more confident in a conversation, how to talk to girls. No, this video is about thinking deeper. But by thinking deeper, by putting the distractions down, obviously, not distracting your mind so much, filling it up with so much jargon, you're going to have less anxiety, right? Your mind's going to be buzzing less. And that just makes social contact so much easier, actually being able to look the person in the eye when you talk to them without your mind trailing off to some distraction that you've been filling your brain up with. That's social skills in itself. That's a social skill tip in itself. Being present and not having distractions. You'll be less shallow, less boring, and you'll be able to speak better. It's a win-win-win. So moral of the story, for at least a week straight, I want you to try this. No distractions. I don't care if you make YouTube videos or if you're like 14 and you don't do anything of business merit or creativity merit. I want you to sit and stare at a wall, anywhere, with no distractions for 10 minutes a day. Set a timer for 10 minutes, like throw the timer somewhere else so you're not looking at it. And I can guarantee this. You'll feel less dazed and distracted, and your mind will be more opened to deep thoughts. So yeah, you're gay. Dun, 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 dun. That was an Abrian quickie. Actually, I don't know. I feel like that wasn't that quick. It's probably kind of a long video. But as always, the community is in the description if you want to join the community of Abrian. Free workouts as always. One-on-one calling where I do tailored self-improvement. And I set up the join feature thing. You can now join the Abrian channel. On that note, hopefully you'll be less shallow and